Well, we're going to get started. My name is Sheila Varner, and helping me put on the evening tonight is Lori Wilhelm. She's on the camera. And I'm going to be just the MC. We're just two citizens of Montrose, and we want to get to know the candidates a little better, so let's host a Meet the Candidates event. So I want to thank our candidates for all coming out this evening, and everyone else. If you do come up with a question, what we're doing, we've got 2 set questions that the candidates were given ahead of time. If you have a question you want to be asked, you can write it, put it in the box. We're going to draw just randomly at the end of their set questions, a few questions for them to go over. So your question might not be answered, but if you have one, go ahead and throw it in there. So again, I'm Sheila Varner, and I'm going to be the moderator and the timer. So the candidates will each get 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then 2 minutes to ask each question or answer each question. So we're going to start out, they're just in alphabetical order by first name, so I think we'll just start out right there with Brew and let you introduce yourself, and we'll go down the line from there.
Perfect. Thank you all for coming. Thank you guys for hosting, and the rest of the candidates for being here. My name is Brew Flug, for those of you who don't already know me. I moved into town here in 2011. I've got 2 grown sons and 6 grandkids. I work locally. I served on Park and Rec here for about 4 years. I served on planning and zoning for a while, and I volunteered in different capacities. And I am running on a number of different things, but mostly the main thing is to make sure that you guys have accurate information as quickly as possible, and just some transparency and having somebody be able to answer you. You're not always going to like what you hear, but you're going to hear the truth. So hopefully I get to answer the rest of your questions this evening. Thank you.
I'm Nicole. My husband and I grew up here. We were kids here. We moved away about 2 years ago. We bought a house here. So I think coming back to our hometown and buying a house put a new perspective on doing stuff for our community. So I wanted to be a part as much as I possibly could. I couldn't think of a better way than to kind of jump in head first and do something like this. I've never done anything like this before, so this is new to me. A little nervous, but I want to do something, so here I am.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roy Henry. I sadly missed the previously candidate forum when I was out of town visiting family. I have lived in the area for 79 years and married to my wife for 53 years. I was voted on the city council after the resignation of a council member. It has come to my attention that there is some concern over my cancer diagnosis and whether or not I can complete my duties as a council member. With that being said, I can assure you I'm feeling pretty good, and my doctor says I'm doing fine on my treatments. I'm willing to work with people's problems to see what's going on. The city now has new city attorney, city engineer, city clerk and treasurer, and we're getting along just fine, but there's always room for improvement. I'd like to see the city books be state audited, and there'd be a lot of negative comments and talk on social media that are not in attendance to council meetings. I invite these people to come to the meetings, ask their questions, and to see firsthand what is actually being said and by whom. I also invite people to ask their questions or share their concerns directly with me in person. Thank you.
My name is Tom Marslick. My lovely wife Teresa and I moved into our home here in Montrose. We bought our home back in January. We moved from Washington State. We have 5 children and 8 grandchildren. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I worked for Honeywell, the industrial, for 36 years. I managed basically a service and engineering operation for Honeywell. Had responsibility for about $8 million worth of business and personnel management and financial management, P&L responsibility for that. So I look at my qualifications and what I've done over the last 36 years, and I think I could really help the city out in terms of governing. We moved to Montrose mainly because we moved from 10 acres in Washington. Didn't want to live in the city anymore because I was born and raised in the south side of Chicago with a truck terminal on one side and a railroad switchyard on the other, and I always wanted some property. So rather than look for 10 acres in Minnesota, we bought our home. It's on about a half an acre, so it's manageable. I still have grass to cut and leaves to rake and all that kind of stuff. But we really like the environment, the farm-type environment, the open country environment out here. And so far, the people I've met have been interesting and very friendly and hard workers. So I look at being a voice for the people that, you know, they have job, both parents work, they have kids, they don't really have time to get involved in city government. I would like to be their voice, and I would like to be your voice to the city government also. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start out with question number 1. And Tom, since you introduced last, we'll start with you and then work our way back down. The first question that will go to each of the candidates is, do you think our Main Street / downtown is healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change that? And just to clarify, the Main Street downtown, we're talking about the Highway 12 corridor. So, whenever you're ready.
Well, I struggled with this question a little bit because I'm not really sure what determines the health or success based on a street or an area defined as a downtown. You know, Minneapolis has a downtown, Buffalo has a downtown, and a Main Street with a little area with small shops and those kinds of things, antique stores and the like. As far as Montrose, you know, we are a one-stoplight town, and we don't have a real defined downtown or Main Street other than, you know, Highway 12 going through. I firmly believe that the people make a town healthy and successful, or they make it a dismal failure, not the buildings or the street or anything like that. You know, we could invest tons of money in, you know, spiffing up the facades of every home and every building along Highway 12 here, but, you know, it would be just that facade and would hide the reality of the discourse in Montrose. And I see a lot of discourse as I walk through and knock on doors and talk to people. We need to really turn attitudes around and work together rather than creating a deeper rift in the community. I certainly didn't move here for Nelson Boulevard or cutesy downtown. I moved here for the serenity of living out in the country, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, an area that had friendly people, good neighbors, and that kind of thing. So I think we need to focus on improving our ability to listen to each other and hear each other out with respect and understanding. I know it sounds like I'm spinning and not answering that question, but I won't put buildings or a road in front of people's desire for a clean, safe, and healthy environment. We do need to share, or we do need to concentrate our efforts into getting more people involved in the community. As I said, a lot of people, both people work, they don't have time to sit in council meetings and things of that nature. But I think that everybody shares an interest in doing the best and the most cost-effective thing for the city of Montrose. We are a small town, so we shouldn't sit here and think about visions of grandeur, but realistically look at where we are and make moves to improve everything.
Thank you. All right, Roy, question again. Do you think our Main Street / downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
Well, there's some things that's got to be cleaned up. Yes, that I know. On the property east of town out there, I know they wanted to put a mall in there at one time or something like that, but the person that owned the property would not cooperate with the city for price-wise and everything, because somebody had some businesses they wanted to put in there, but they couldn't come to an agreement for putting the mall up, for making subways, places, and stuff like that. In the same way with Turning's property on the other side over there. There was supposed to have been some businesses that went in there, but the council that we had before that, they voted that all down. I was at that meeting and I walked out because I was never so disgusted in my life when they had the opportunity, and it wouldn't have cost them any time to put the water lines in or anything down there. Because this one outfit wanted to come in, and this outfit comes out of Iowa all the time for this stuff, because there's no other places for this thing that was going to be going in down there across the city of Penn. But sure, we need some cleaning up on Highway 12. And the old Casey's store, I've been talking to people trying to see if we can get a laundromat in there, which we really need in town, instead of having an empty building where kids can hang around and all that stuff back there smoking cigarettes and whatever they're doing. Otherwise, I'm working on things and I'm trying to see if we can get some businesses in town here and we get our tax base cut down.
All right, thank you. And Nicole, do you think our main street downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
I think we're a small town, and we're not, I think, this might be a double-edged sword. We're not meant for a super mall down the street from the Dollar General or anything like that. I think this small town is the reason why I kind of came back here. I like the small town. I don't want to see it get overran, but at the same time, new development going forward is always good. So I'm open to definitely hear any suggestions on what we could do to improve it. Like Roy said, a little sprucing up wouldn't hurt, but I love my small town. So I don't want to see anything come in and overwhelm it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Ruth. Question again. Do you think our main street downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
Well, I have a little bit of all of these here. Tom is right. A downtown area is not what defines a city as successful or healthy. The people that are within it certainly make that a correct or true statement. I think using that definition, we have a lot of health and success within our city. For example, one of the groups that just walked in, you have parents that take the time to dedicate educating youth. It's the Boy Scouts that just came in. It's a great way to raise them up, get them involved. That creates success and health within your community. The other part of that is, like it or not, we kind of are a bedroom community. How we get past that, or if we ever get past that, is anybody's guess. Could we use more businesses here to help the tax base? Absolutely. We do not have the space for it currently. We don't have the rooftops for it currently. A suggestion may be that as homes come up, kind of by the old Casey's, there's some that really need to be rehabbed. Maybe we don't rehab them. Maybe we level them and we have that space available to be built for business. We have EDA money available. We should be offering that to businesses that are already here for low interest loans to spruce up the outside. Whatever you do with your business is your business. Whatever you do on the inside, as long as you're up to code, have at it. I hope you're very, very successful. But the outside of it, so that it is aesthetically pleasing when people are driving through town and draw them in, would be very advantageous.
Thank you. All right, for our second question, we're going to start with Nicole, and then when we draw from the box, Roy, we'll start with you, so everyone gets a chance to start with the question. So the second question that will go to each of the candidates, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? So again, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I think there's two things that I had in mind when I thought of this question. And it probably wouldn't cost $1 million, but I would really love a dog park. There's so many people that are walking their dogs, especially down my street. I think a dog park would definitely be beneficial to the town. I don't know where it would go yet, but I would love to see one. And maybe a small free library, that would be good. I know my son, when I actually asked him this question to get his opinion on it, on what he would like to see from his age perspective, he had said a library, and I couldn't agree with him more. I'd love to see that. So that's kind of what I got.
Thank you. And I apologize, at the beginning I forgot, I heard his phone go off. Everyone can silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate just so they don't interrupt. That would be great. So Roy, we'll go to you with question number 2. If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I would like to see our sewer plant upgraded and our new building down there all gone through so it can be state inspected, because I know it's got to have a lot of work done to it. And that's where I would spend the money for that and have another sewer pond put in so we could get by with the state. So if we get more housing in, we ain't gonna be shut down, and we ain't gonna have nothing for anything.
Thank you. And Tom, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Well, Roy kind of stole my thunder. I agree on the wastewater treatment plant because, right now, Waverly is sending all their goodies our way, and we're going to be reaching capacity with all the building going on in town. So, I looked at, okay, what do we absolutely need to do, and then what would be nice to do. So I think the wastewater treatment plant would be number one, and if there's a second option there, I would probably pay down some of the debt. We've got about $3 million in bond debt right now. That'd be nice to pay that down.
All right, thank you. And finally, Brew, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
When I first read that question, I was like, dang, we could have a lot of fun with that. Sadly, as Tom was reflecting, we have more debt than what that grant is. But that was the first thing that I thought of, was I would like to pay off the structured debt, because if we don't have a debt load, we would be able to lower our tax capacity, or our tax assessment, I guess, would be a better assessment of that. Since there wouldn't be anything left, there'd really be no more to do. But wishfully thinking, if there was money left, I would then look at taking some of our existing parks and sprucing them up, getting something new and fresh in there, and inviting to hold some interest for the kids so they have something to do rather than kind of run around and get in trouble.
All right, well, thank you. Those were all of the advanced questions that we gave to the, does anybody have any other questions they would like to add into the box here before? I can bring it over. Another one? Oh, do you want to write it down for us? Okay. We'll just give him a minute to write down this question, and then I'm going to let Lori draw, so. I know, isn't it? All right, I'm just going to let you draw. First one, I'll just draw one more right away. I know, it's hard to grab out of the box. Who picked this box? All right. Okay, so the first question, and everybody will get a chance to answer this, but Roy, we'll start with you, and you can take a minute or two to process, is what I hear from people in Montrose is that the water bills are too high. How would you increase tax base besides trying to do it yourself, or what do you think would be the solution to help lower water rates if you could? So to kind of paraphrase that, the feedback has been water rates are too high. What would you do to lower the water rates?
First, you got to look at how much it's costing us to run the pumps and what it costs for our pumps to put down in these holes for the water. And all the problems that we have with pumps, that people are putting stuff in, like even our water lines, sewer lines and stuff like that, are plugging everything up. And each one of these pumps costs a little over $4,000. But when you got one of them going down, and somebody ain't got something going here or going there, well, you go around to these people and see if they got a water leak, why the water meters are so high. But that's no different than like Waverly, when they hooked up the city sewer down here with us, their water bills tripled up there because they robbed Peter to pay Paul to get that sewer system in to hook up with Montrose. And they think now they're buying water from us down here in Montrose for Waverly. No, you're not. But you can't get that through their head, and they don't have a town hall meeting to explain this to anybody to see what's going on. I know our water bills are high, but some of this stuff, that's just like over in Garfield when they put that new water tower in over there. They had all that welding done over there and everything, and we had a city engineer that never checked on nothing. So we had to have another outfit come out of Wisconsin and pull all them pipes and re-weld everything again, and all the fire hoses from the fire barn was used on Garfield Avenue so these people had water in their houses. And I think it was a big expense that nobody investigated nothing.
Thank you. Tom, we'll go to you. Again, I'll paraphrase. Feedback is water bills are too high. What would you do to increase the tax base? Or what do you think would be the solution to help lower water rates if you could?
Well, it's kind of a two-part question there. Do I think the water bills are too high? Yes. We went away back to see our grandkids. We were gone the whole month of June. I left my sprinkler system on and came back to one hellacious water bill. But the entire water system in town is basically their enterprise funds. The city's not making a profit on the water that they sell you, right? So I think, we mentioned before about doing a forensic audit just to make sure that all of our policies, procedures, record retention, all these things, and how we do business in the city is done properly according to law. And I think if we do that, then we'll find out exactly what makes up the cost for the water. You look at your water bill, you've got garbage in there, you've got sewer in there, you've got the taxes in there. So, we look at the cost to maintain the infrastructure, the pumps, the labor to do all that stuff. So that's really where your water bill comes from. And from what I understand, I've got a friend that lives in Waverly. He says, you think your water bill is high, you live in Waverly. So as far as increasing tax base, I've always said we need some maybe small, light manufacturing, small businesses to move in to kind of share that load. We seem to be doing okay with residential rooftops. I live out in Forest Creek, and there's more building going on there than you shake a stick at. So I know there's a lot more rooftops going in. So if we could attract some small business or some small retail in town to help share that load would be the ideal scenario.
Thank you. And then Brew. Feedback is water bills are too high. How would you increase the tax base? Or what do you think the solution would be to help lower the water rates, if you could?
We do hear this a lot, and those of you that are on social media, you know that you hear it all the time. The city can't make money nor lose money. So if operating costs become too high, it does, of course, increase your water bill. Having lived in multiple different cities, I can tell you that we're right on par with Dassel's water, with Cocato's water, with Delano's water. The last outburst there was on Community Montrose Facebook page about water rates. I actually took my water bill, went over to Delano, went to the water municipal office, and we went through every single item by item, and compared them. There's a couple things we have they don't, and vice versa. But when you average those out, we come out to actually be $5 a month less than Delano. So we're pretty much the same. Nobody likes to pay it, but the fact is you have to. There's no way around it. Is there a way to cheapen it? Only if we can get operating costs down. One of the ways to do that is instead of replacing our pumps with the exact same pumps we have, you put a grinder pump in so that when people are doing the flushable wipes, they're not plugging it up. They get chopped up and moves on through. There is a higher initial cost up front, but the savings in the long run could help us a lot. short of that, again, you might not like what you hear, but truthfully, there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
Thank you. And finally, Nicole, feedback is water bills in Montrose are too high. How would you increase tax base? Or what do you think would be the solution to help lower water rates?
I kind of want to ditto Brew here and what she just said. I don't really want to repeat myself or repeat what she just said, but I think that a lot of people don't understand that obviously it does cost money. I feel like, yeah, sometimes I get my water bill and I'm like, well, alrighty then, stop showering so much, but it's something that obviously we have to pay for. And with what improvements need to be made, it's gonna cost money. People aren't gonna be happy about it. I'm trying to figure out a way to word this, but it is something that we have to do, something that we need, and eventually I don't think it'll be as much maybe when we do get more people in town. And I think that'll help a little bit. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next question that we chose, then we'll go to everyone. How will you assist with getting the regional park to the next phase? So how will you assist with getting the regional park to the next phase? And we will start with Tom.
Well, personally, I think the regional park was a mistake. I think that's going to wind up being a huge sinkhole for money. We have a $10,000 budget in parks this year for 2019, and we have 11 parks including, or 12 parks including regional park, and only 6 of them have any kind of playground equipment in them. Meanwhile, we have this huge hunk of grass that's probably not going to be ready for any kind of ballparks or soccer fields or anything for another couple of years. So it's going to be sitting out there, and then, I don't know what it costs us to mow that thing all summer. It's got to be a huge amount of money. I would have rather had the investment put into the existing parks rather than the regional park. So I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask about improving the regional park.
Thank you. Brew, how will you assist with getting the regional park to the next phase?
Well, I probably have got more knowledge on this than anyone else, having been intimately involved with it for the last several years. It can be potentially a huge draw for this area. Having been in multiple meetings with Wright County, with the state, with our legislators on this, there is grant money and things out there. There is legacy money. There's several other places that money could come from. We were moving forward on that track, and then we had a change of admin at city level. But our new one is very experienced in grants. So my next thing, and to get to the next phase, of course, is more grant money. The existing park budget needs to remain with maintenance and existing parks that we currently have. But it's the plans that could be done and the money that could be had. I tell you, a little bit more lobbying at the state level and it could be fabulous.
Nicole, how would you assist with getting the regional park to the next phase?
I don't know much about the subject. That was kind of something that was happening when we were living here, but I guess when it comes to volunteering, maybe, if there was volunteers to help with the building of it, or if that offsets whatever cost or grants or whatnot, that would be something that I think would help. Like I said, I don't really know much about that subject.
Thank you. And Roy, finally, how would you assist with getting the regional park to the next phase?
Well, that's supposed to be a 20-year project. We saved a lot of money with the Army Corps of Engineers coming in out there. But when the Army Corps of Engineers come in out there, our city maintenance man and our city engineer was supposed to be out there, but they weren't there in some spots, and I wasn't on the console at the time. And I had this one sergeant come up to me and ask me, what can we do with something out there? I said, I'm not on the console, so I can't say nothing to you right now. But I think things got changed with these poor people that were living out there. The stakes got moved here and the stakes got moved there, and said this was that and this was that. And what got done out there, in my opinion, was a lot of things that were done wrong, and it hurt a lot of people's feelings.
Thank you. All right, we are doing really good on time, so I think we will draw for another question here. And then after this final question, we'll have closing statements. And then we'll just give you a chance to mingle with the candidates, talk with them individually. So we'll close the formal part of our evening and let you to talk with them each one-on-one if you'd like to. So the last question that I drew was, how will you increase community involvement? So the question, how will you increase community involvement? And Rue, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm not sure if they're asking about volunteerism or what capacity. I'm going to assume that it's getting people involved in volunteering. It's difficult. People have really, really busy lives. Those of you that came tonight, you know how difficult it was to get supper made and get home and, you know, get your things done to get here. Make a commitment. I think part of that is going to come from existing community groups, educating that and instilling it in the children. From our schools, I think our schools are lacking a little bit of education in that area, of teaching the kids about the value of the community involvement and volunteering. A community can't succeed without people volunteering their time and working together. How would I do it? Gosh, that's an age-old question. I think we're asking monthly, the groups are asking who can help, we need volunteers. Other than just asking people and kind of pulling at their heartstrings to get them to see how wonderful it is when you do put your time in and how much it is appreciated. Once you see it, you want to do it again.
Thank you. Nicole, how would you increase community involvement?
Same thing, if we're talking volunteering here, regardless if I get on the board or not, I still plan on volunteering, and one of the groups that I do want to volunteer for is the Montrose Days Committee. So I always had a love for Montrose Days. So as little as it is in this little teeny town, that's what some people look forward to every year, is our little celebration. So I want to be able to help them out. So hopefully here shortly, when life calms down a bit, that's what I know I will be doing. And my kids already said they would love to help out, so getting out there and doing some stuff.
Thank you. And Roy, to you, how will you increase community involvement?
Well, when I was mayor, I know I'm retired now and everything, but I saved the city a lot of money with their maintenance guys and everything. I watered everything along Highway 12, pulled weeds, and cut a lot of grass and everything like that. And I saved the city money so the maintenance guys could go doing what they were doing. And we worked pretty good together that way. I didn't have no problem working with anybody when I asked questions or something like that. They'd tell me where I could find the stuff to do what I had to do, and took care of all that. It didn't bother me at all.
Thank you. And Tom, finally with you, how will you increase community involvement?
Yeah, I didn't look at that question from a volunteer standpoint. I looked at that question from setting attitudes and the city council showing civil discourse, interaction amongst themselves and amongst interaction with residents. We had a comprehensive plan done a couple of years ago, and we had a total participation of that of like 232 households out of over 1,000. So that's less than 25%. You see, this room really should be full. I mean, packed from wall to wall with people who are interested in what's going on in their government and what's going on in terms of people running for positions in our government. But there seems to be an apathy, and I don't know if the apathy is because of past history or just people are too busy. I know people are busy, and I know they work and they come home, they don't have time for all this stuff. But a big thing for me is always, I've said it before, and it's listen, listen, listen. And it's not listen to try to come up with your argument, but listen to really understand where a person's coming from when they're explaining to you what their issue is or what their problem is or what they like or what they don't like. And as I walk through the neighborhoods, I try to give people the opportunity to voice their opinion, whether they were, way over here or way over here. So it's listening and it's turning people around, showing respect, even if in disagreement. I think that's really is going to turn things around in terms of getting people involved in our community.
Great, thank you.
So for the last question, there was a young gentleman in the audience that had written down a question and put it in the box. It was not picked, and he does want to ask his question. So I'm going to have Caden stand up and ask his question to the candidate.
So I think you guys are all really great people, and I think you all have really good ideas, but hey, it doesn't really matter. I think it matters what these guys think. But it does matter to me and my friends who does get picked, because it impacts the kids. And I want to know what you guys will do to benefit the kids in Montrose.
We started with Brew last time, so Nicole, we'll start with you.
Different kid programs. I know there's a few. Like I said, I asked my son for advice, believe it or not, the other day when I was reading him my questions, getting his idea of what he thought with the town. And he, hands down, keeps saying, I wish there was more things to do around here. And the few things that we brought him to this summer that the city had going on, he absolutely enjoyed and he loved. I had told him, kind of rolling back to what I said before about like the Montrose Days Committee and what they're doing, is volunteering, getting out there. You have volunteers for activities and things for the kids. I know I would love to do it. My son would love to do it. Getting people involved would definitely help.
Thank you. And hopefully I paraphrase it correctly, but the question to the candidates is going to you next, Roy. What do you have in mind to do for the youth of Montrose?
Well, I'd like to see a little more respect for some of these kids around here that do a lot of work around here. A lot of them don't get thanked, and they just walk away and say, well, they must not appreciate what I did. Because I was fire department, working with my wife with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and all that stuff, and we had a lot of kids in our classes and stuff like that. When they went out and helped somebody do something or cut grass or rake leaves or something like that, they'd come and say, well, what more can we do? Well, don't pick up trash and stuff around town and everything and respect the kids. But when they got done, we put on a barbecue for them to show our appreciation what the kids were doing and make them feel better. So they got a better attitude towards the grown-ups that are working around them and stuff and not giving them a bad attitude. So, well, I don't like this guy because he's mean and all this stuff. I don't go for that. If you can't be honest with kids, get away from them. That's my feeling.
All right, thank you. Tom, question to you, again paraphrasing. What do you have for providing for the youth of Montrose?
Well, young man, what was your name?
Caden?
Caden. I would like to turn the question back around to you and say, what would you like the city to do for kids?
Well, me and my friends would love a little football field, and I did like the idea of a library. I would love to see a library and a dog park.
You talk
Because I
about
am
free
an owner.
library where people donate books.
Yeah.
You know there are those throughout the neighborhood. I've got one in front of my house.
Yeah. Maybe see if we can connect up to Buffalo Regional Library, be in that little network of stuff, libraries.
You mean build a library here?
Yeah, or maybe use the old Casey's store.
That's a good idea. See, I think that's what the whole thing needs to revolve around, is we need to get a bunch of you guys together, maybe a council meeting with just kids out there to say exactly what you'd like to see in the city. And then we know what to act on. My youngest son is 24 years old. He's married with 2 kids. So I've kind of lost track of what kids are into these days, right? A football field, I know there are a lot of grassy areas and parks that don't have playground equipment that can be used to play football in. You know, you're not going to have all the yard markers and things like the goalposts and all that stuff, but you've got the room to do that. But I'd really like to sit down with a bunch of you guys and find out exactly what you're looking for in a town. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're just a bunch of old fart adults here. We can't figure out what you guys all want. You have to tell us what you want.
You guys interested in the regional park?
Yeah.
They were interested in the regional park and development.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite a ways off yet. You'll be in college by the time that's done.
All right, thank you, Tom. And Brew, finally to you. Again, the question, what do you have in mind for offering the youth of Montrose?
Believe it or not, we actually have quite a bit for you guys right now. We have the Sparks program, we have Open Gym, we have got a lot of organizations like the one that you're in. We've got Montrose Days, we have got 4 different events that Park and Rec put on during the year. There's the Skate Day, there is Summer Splash, there is Park and Park, just to name a couple of them. As far as the regional park goes, believe it or not, the lower part of the park the grading is ready. It can be used for lacrosse or for soccer, starting this coming year. Problem that we have is coordinating with the school, and the schools who wants it, the lacrosse teams and that. So as far as football goes, I would bet that if we got some chalk lines out there, you guys could start using it as early as this coming spring. Beyond those things, we'd have to hear from you guys. Things that take big ticket or big dollars, like sadly turning the Casey's into a library, is just not something that the city has money for. However, years ago there was something called Bookmobile, and that may be a temporary fix for you guys to sustain the library need. It comes here once a week or once every 2 weeks, and you can still check out books out of that mini library, and that may help that. Beyond that, we would definitely need to hear from you guys to see what you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for a roller rink or something like that, probably out of the question. But there's other things that we could probably put together for you. That's a good question, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you guys are involved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will give you each 2 minutes for closing statements. And since we started the last question with Nicole, Roy will let you finish up with your closing statements for 2 minutes.
Well, I love being here tonight. I love talking to people, and if people got any problems or that, like I said, my door is always open, and if you got a problem, I'll go look at it and see if we can solve it.
Thank you. Tom?
Well, once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It shows your interest and your involvement in what's going on in the city. I like the city of Montrose. I didn't like all the things I heard bad about it after I moved here. You know, we have friends in other areas of Minnesota that are like, Montrose, and they were kind of wondering what's going on, you're moving to Montrose, because it didn't exactly have the best reputation, when I talk to people. Going out knocking on doors was a revelation for me, because I got to understand what's going on in town. I got a lot of history, and history is good to know, so you don't repeat the same mistakes you made before, and you move on. I just, I think with my experience and, in 36 years in business, I think I would be an asset to the city council. And as Roy mentioned, my phone number and my Facebook and all that stuff's been on since I signed up and decided to run for council. So I've gotten a lot of questions, a lot of interest, a lot of people asking me specific things. So please feel free between now and Election Day to call me or send me an email, let me know that you have an issue or you want to talk about something. I'd be more than happy to do that. So once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate your vote next Tuesday.
Thank you. And Ruth?
Gosh, where to start? A lot of good questions in here tonight. Thank you guys for coming. I think with the background that I've had here, with the city park and rec, I've been at just about every council meeting. I pay attention. I listen to people. We're not always going to agree. We just aren't. I mean, for heaven's sake, you don't agree with your spouse and they're supposed to be the most important person in your life. If you don't agree with them, why would you agree with any one of us 100% of the time? You just aren't. But it's how you work through that. It's working through and finding compromise. It's not a dirty word. Contrary to what federal government wants you to think, it really can work. Between my experience with that and my work experience with management and human resources and insurance and some other things, I think it would come into play and be very valuable working with the city. Regardless of our experience, even if I had no experience, even if I was a stay-at-home mom that had never held a job outside of the home, that life experience is still valuable because this job is all about listening to you. So if I'm elected, it's not about what I want, it's about what you want. So hopefully on Tuesday, you see my name on the ballot and put the check mark there.
Thank you. And then our last candidate, closing statements, Nicole.
Like I said before, I'm kind of the newcomer, so I don't have tons of experience, but I love to learn new things. Like I said, I love the city. I would hope for an opportunity to be able to get in there and learn a lot of things and help the city. Regardless, if I am elected or not, I still plan on helping some way, somehow. But I do hope that people have enough faith in me to give me that shot. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all we have for this evening. Feel free to talk with the candidates, meet with the candidates, and thanks everyone for coming out tonight.